welfare use by nativity and legal status.
Ooh.
So if you're listening, about 48% of all illegal headed households receive food stamps. 34% of legal immigrant households receive food stamps, and 25% of U.S. born headed households receive it. So the majority of the people who are taking advantage of this aren't really Americans. That's a problem for the Democrat Party. That's your clients, and actually, when you break it down by population groups, it's even worse. Here's another one. This is food stamps by ethnicity. Percentage of U.S. households receiving SNAP benefits. Somalis, 42%. So 40% of all Somali households in America are getting food stamps.
Wait, the page ain't big enough.
Oh no, I'm going to keep going. You scroll down, like Native Americans, 27%, Black Americans, 24%, Puerto Ricans, 27%, the Caribbean as a whole, 28%. You go all the way down here, and you get to white Americans, 8.6%.
Look at these snooty Italians. Are you too good for it?
I know. Like, we're doing a little better. We're 1% better down there. They separated us out.
A couple unsurprising things. Mexico, 17% of 18% of Mexican households and 17% of Guatemalan households on food stamps. So that's like what 3 times the rate of white Americans. Italians only at 7.6%, and the Chinese 9.6%. Fred and I were talking about it earlier. There's no way that's legit food stamp usage. You telling me that the Chinese immigrants in America are poorer than whites and Italians? I don't believe that. I absolutely do not believe that.
Yeah, that's absolutely just, they're just willing to like game the system a little bit to get themselves eligible.
Yeah.
So,
all groups should have the stainless ethics of the Italians on the food stamp issue.
I got see me slipping. Yeah, well, I mean, the Indian one matches what you would expect from income rates. Indians are super rich.
So,
by the way, the one thing I just want to, before we lose this thread, the first chart you pulled up, what should make you particularly mad about that is one of the criteria for immigration, for legal immigration, is not being a public charge, right? Like being able to support yourself. And if you look at that, I mean, forget about illegal for a second. Look how much higher legal immigrant households are than U.S. born households. That's a clear indicator that the quote unquote legal immigration system is not working. It's not functioning as it's supposed to.
And I mean, and let's be honest, the U.S. born household numbers, like that's basically fueled by like one specific group of people who like have a very special relationship to the United States government. And if you're listening to this podcast, whatever group that you're from, it would probably be like a half of that or less. So yeah, you figure these people who are coming here are taking quite a bit of advantage of our hospitality. That graph we just looked at, I want to read you from the study. So compared to households headed by U.S. born, immigrant-headed households have especially high use of food programs, 36% versus 25%. Our best estimate is that 59% of households headed by illegal immigrants use at least one major welfare program. So that's 60% of all illegal households use some kind of welfare. Now, technically, that's not supposed to happen, right? We've been told this a million times. Illegals can't use these programs.
Well, I guess what people would say to that, though, Merrick, is, and I agree with you, obviously, I have hear them typically concede that some states give illegal aliens benefits. Mm-hmm. The arguments they try and make are like, oh, well, that's from a separate pot of money. Like no federal money is used for that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but so Illegal immigrants can receive welfare on behalf of U.S.-born children. So that's one way they can. Any of those programs we're talking about, if they have an anchor baby, they can get that stuff. And illegal immigrant children can receive school lunch, breakfast, and WIC directly. A number of states provide Medicaid to some illegals and adults and children, and a few provide SNAP. Several million illegal immigrants also have work authorization, Dreamers, blah blah blah, and that allows receipt of the EITC. So as long as you have an anchor baby, you're good to go. Period. I didn't know the part about the school lunch, breakfast, and WIC directly. Well, I mean the school lunch, that makes sense, but the WIC, I didn't realize that illegals can get that, but apparently they can.
What is the difference between WIC, EBT, and SNAP?
EBT is just the payment system. It's the car. Sorry, Merrick, you want to go?
No, you go ahead.
EBT, and you tell me if I get any of this wrong, Merrick, since you seem to know. EBT is just the payment system. It's like the debit card thing. SNAP is the broader program, and WIC is more restrictive, and it's related to families with children. That's my understanding.
WIC is straight up for babies, so for women who have babies. Like I think it's like 6 months after your kid's born, you get cut off of WIC, I think. Whereas like SNAP, food stamps, there are people now who are like 3 or 4 generations deep into just being on SNAP their entire lives.
Okay. I've had a lot of shitty jobs my life, but I don't have kids. And so, is it likely at any point in my life I would have ever been eligible for food stamps?
I don't know. Good question.
When you're single, I know it's harder, like the eligibility. But I mean, that's something we could probably Google live on the show here, find out what your income would have to be to get SNAP as a single male.
Here you go. Here's the allotment. First off, start with how much do we pay every year for SNAP? It's $100 billion. That's 1.5% of all federal funding goes to SNAP. The maximum allotment for one person would be $292 a month. So that's the most you could get as a single person. Let me Google that real quick, and you guys keep us from having dead air.
Monthly income for a single person would have to be below $1,700 a month at current levels.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm sure there was. At one point in my life, I probably could have for a period of time, but I.
So that's like on the $10 an hour line there. 40 hours a week.
Yeah, well, if you're working 40, most of these people I doubt are working 40 hours, but yeah, $1,700 is the current limit.
Yeah,
for a single person.
Yeah,
and a lot of it is because that's why it's so much easier to qualify if you have kids too, because that number goes up if you have kids.
Yeah, and I know as Janet Yellen taught me, this was the thing that a lot of people said this, but it's not just a myth. You can go read Janet Yellen write this, that yes, when these policies were implemented, they literally said, hey, if you kick your husband out of the house, you're going to get more money.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia says there are a lot of people who have jobs and still qualify for food stamps. I'm never going to adopt the 90s GOP talking points on food stamps. Yeah, this is the thing about talking about this, is that it's a lose-lose proposition, because if you do talk about it in a negative way, people are going to accuse you of like, why do you hate poor people, and why do you want
Monopoly man?
Why do you want children to starve? The thing is, and this might be the most unpopular thing that has ever been said on this podcast, but like, when you look at the stats, like, if this is a thing that was like, okay, 30% of all households in America were using it, you'd say like, okay, yeah, this is pretty much untouchable. This is something that you have to keep this going, but it's not. Like, this is mostly a program for like clients of the Democrat Party. And here's here's the thing: like the Roman grain dole was a temporary measure, just like the food stamps were in the United States, and they ended up lasting like 400 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was as temporary as the Roman state.
Right. It ended when the Western Roman Empire ended. It's like once you start these things, they generally don't stop. So that's the first part. The question is who's the shutdown going to be more dangerous for? I think, and the one argument is, well, this is going to allow the Democrats to mobilize their clients and burn down the cities and freak out again, and that might happen. That very well may be what happens.
I mean, absolutely. There's no one can say anything different. 100% of the time in history, this is poli-sci 101. If a significant portion of the population are starving, automatically state failure.
Yeah. My question here is, so the game of chicken they're playing here right now is, will you, the Republican Party, force us to just agree to cut some of these Obamacare subsidies? Part of them go to people who are here illegally, but also part of them go to people who make like over $100,000 a year. Like, these are the temporary subsidies that happened during the bat flu. And the Republicans are saying, we're not paying for this anymore. And the Democrats are saying, you have to. And if you don't, we're going to keep the government shut down. Food stamps are going to stop, and people are going to freak out and burn down all the major metropolitan areas. That's a good threat. I think unless Donald Trump's administration completely cucks, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner here. Because, like, if you're him, why not just say, okay, go do that? We have things are a little bit different than they were the last time around. Why don't you go ahead and just set the whole country on fire? And it won't matter, because you're still not getting your money until you vote for the budget. Mm-hmm. And you're forcing blue states to fund their own program rather than it coming from their treasury. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the greatest threat to me.
Ultimately, what has to focus this, because now they're like, okay, they're making this is all ultimately a debate tactic. I mean, ultimately, we're still this is a budget dispute. We don't have to talk about people starving and stuff as soon as the budget is disputed. So obviously, I know people are going to immediately start calling their fellow citizens, monsters. You're in favor of killing babies, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't appear that any private citizen is any more bloodthirsty than the Congress. That we're not seeing Congress sweating this too hard.
Well, here let's get a little bit into motivations here. On Monday, the largest federal workers union sided with the Republicans in calling for a clean continuing resolution, which would immediately reopen the government while various.
Shit.
Yeah. So that was the sorry, what was the name of this union?
There's another word for that. That is capitulation.
Yeah, that's the federal workers union. So these are people who are employed by the state and organizing against us.
And the greatest enemy of the Trump administration.
Right. Inside Monday night's closed-door GOP leadership meeting, Senate Majority Leader John Thune poured cold water on a plan that many Republicans thought could turn the political tide, passing, they call it rifle shot bills, but just basically little piecemeal bills to fund critical parts of the government while the government shut down. Thune warned colleagues that these piecemeal funding bills could actually ease pressures on Democrats and to ease the pressure on Democrats to cut a deal to reopen the government. My view, quote, my view is what it has been from the very beginning, and that is to pay SNAP recipients by reopening the government. It's not complicated. And the Trump administration agrees with Thune and had been privately telling Republican senators that the rifle shot approach would let Democrats bail themselves out of a crisis they created, according to Punchbowl, citing a person briefed on the conversation. Yeah, once again, Republicans desperately wanted to cuck, and Donald Trump is trying to teach them how to win. This is not even like, I know that we were talking about food stamps and stuff earlier. This is not even a question of like, should we cut food stamps? This is like, all the Democrats have to do is just vote for the CR and fund the government, and they get all that stuff back. Like they're going to right now, they are in theory going to the mat about Obamacare subsidies. They're going to throw all that stuff into the garbage, set their own cities on fire. Virginia is going to pay right now. My state, even with the Republican governor, is going to pay billions of dollars to keep SNAP going in Virginia during a shutdown. All that is so to make sure that some people who shouldn't have Obamacare subsidies at the level they're getting them can have them for a couple more years. It's kind of incredible.
So regarding people that are saying to eliminate SNAP altogether. So a couple of things. So number one, so by the way, if I was one of the ways I know that I'm somewhat Stalin-esque, I feel like polygraph test fell out of favor like way too early. I mean, like I would be like, if I was the president, I would right away. I need like a bill that says I can polygraph like FBI agents and stuff like that. But I think if you would give people a polygraph test, I think that very few people have a honest concern about the United States federal budget. I don't have no way of proving that. I have no way of getting in anybody else's head. But I mean, how can you at this point? I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. So I mean, it's the kind of thing that it feels like to me like an argument of last defense, unless you're a contributor to Reason Magazine or something like that. But so moving on. So like,
well, hey, I'll still man this. Like, here's the argument for cutting SNAP is that it doesn't do any good for your own clients, and you're giving money to the other team's clients. Stop doing that. That's a perfectly good argument against that. And the only argument against that from the right is, well, if you did that, it would cause civil unrest. Which, I mean, fair enough. If this is what you're doing, if you're forced at gunpoint to hand this money out, that's cool. But I don't know. I don't think that's the same thing as in here. Like, look, the old GOP from the 90s and the 80s and the budget hawk stuff. You understand that wasn't, like Bugby said, that wasn't really about the budget. The budget was an excuse. The budget's like, hey, we shouldn't be giving money to people who hate us. And your excuse for that was, well, we really care about having a balanced budget, which is, by the way, like, yeah, obviously you do want your balance sheet to be balanced, because long term, if money is real, then you do have to account for what you're spending. But that's not really what it was about. It was about, how do we get out of paying clients of our enemies with money that had been taken from our friends. And that's all that was. So, cut them some slack there. Their political instincts weren't wrong. The way that they were wrong, ceding moral authority to progressives for 70 years, like, that's where they went wrong. And being unwilling to just openly say, hey, my job as a lawmaker is not to pillage my own people to give to yours. That's not me doing my job. That's me doing the opposite. If they had said that, then they could have, I don't know, it wouldn't have worked, but they could have at least came out of it looking semi-respectable. But they didn't do that because, frankly, they've been afraid to actually practice politics for like 70 years, but they've more importantly been afraid to even pretend that politics, like real politics, actually exist. It all has to be argued within the frame of progressivism. It's like, this is like a perfect example of this, when they were debating about these programs in the the 80s and 90s, it was always on the terms of, well, actually, it's really bad for the people who are receiving the money. This is bad for them. I'm looking out for their best interest.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. That's a fucking lie. Receiving money is great. Receiving things is very cool. From a political standpoint, that's winning.
Sounds
you're not
like someone
doing
who's never gotten anything from a politician.
Yeah, exactly. If you like what you just heard and you want more, you can find all of our content on patreon.com/GOODOLBOYZ.
And you can catch us streaming live on kick.com at Good Old Boys, same words.